Welcome to Superbike School UK. In this episode, Derek and I learned to change lines like Rossi. Andy shows Al what his knees are for before getting his hands on the brake rig. And we find out what makes a Superbike School coach. Join me, Sheila Nair, as we follow three very different riders through the school. Al Fagan, bike journalist and supersport racer, is no stranger to the track. Derek Redmond, 400-metre Olympian, is looking to take his track riding to the next level. And then there's me. I just want to go faster. Track day advice just hasn't cut it for me, so I'm looking to Andy to change my riding for good. For those new to the series, the California Superbike School is the brainchild of one man, Keith Code. The basic idea of the school being, if you're faster in the corner, you'll be faster all round.
I didn't really start to train people for professional racing until the end of 1980.
In 1980, the California Superbike School was born. The school soon began to attract attention from riders and racers worldwide. And in 1999, Andy Ibbott became the school's first British coach in Europe. The linchpin of the school's European effort, he also works with some of motorcycle racing's brightest stars.
On level 2, we're working on visual skills. The change line drill enables the rider to understand and appreciate how much space they actually have to use in any given corner. We tend to get stuck on one line most of the time. The eyes tend to stick to the bits that they know or think that they know. Change lines drill allows several different lines that will all work with good throttle control through any given turn. How would you describe a confident rider in terms of line? Do they just have one? Or do they have several? Okay, why do they have several? Conditions change, don't they? Surface changes. Things will be changed with every lap. There might be somebody in the way of you. You need to have a variance of line to be able to understand how well you can do the corner. We take Rossi as an example. You ever notice that on quite a number of tracks, even though he's been there before, that when he does the first session on the Friday morning, he's normally running somewhere in the region of about 12th, 14th? You ever notice that? You know, it's Valentino Rossi. What the hell's he doing down there? If you go out on track and watch him in these first sessions, guess what he's doing? He's going out there and finding out what different lines he can use. But from that point on, when he understands and each corner and understands what he can and can't get away with, then all of a sudden, front row again. But he takes time to understand what all the corners are doing and what lines he can run through the turns. And that's exactly what we're going to do on this session.
Great job of two-stepping, great job of looking in to where you wanted to go, but then you found you weren't going exactly where you wanted to go.
Yeah, kind of.
It sort of came in and then he thought, oh, actually I don't want to be there, and went and turned out. So this is a fine example of reference point, of knowing exactly where we want to go to. So the thing about two-step is being able to look in, fine, which you did, but now we're developing that a little more and saying, exactly where are you going? What are you going to look at? So give me an example of what might be good to look at in that particular turn, for instance.
Beginning of the curbing?
Beginning of the curbing. Okay. Is that where you want to go?
No.
Right, okay. So where would you like to go?
At the point where the curving kind of disappears down the hill a bit.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Where that service road comes in from the right-hand side, where the curbing ends. And that's, roughly speaking, where the apex is. What you certainly don't want to be doing is looking to the far side of the track, which is an area of danger. You don't want to be going over there, because you go where you look, yeah? So if you look over there, you'll end up going over there. Not a good thing. So, yeah.
Next, we find out what it takes to be a California Superbike School coach.
So choosing coaches we essentially look for various skills. Riding ability is one of them, but not necessarily the most important. If they can apply the techniques that we teach, they don't necessarily have to be able to go supersonic. We definitely need good communication skills. We need a good technical understanding of the techniques that we teach. In fact, quite a deep understanding, almost unreasonable, I would say. We need the guys who really believe in the stuff, so they've all started as students. We don't take anybody who hasn't done the course as a student, and they really need to be willing to push themselves and improve at all times.
I've been coaching now for 3 years. This is my 3rd season. I only started doing the schools as a customer myself in 03.
3 years now. Yeah, only 3 years. So, it's done a lot of school days in those 3 years.
I am the new boy, but even though I have been doing it for 2.5 years now, but I'm still referred to as the newbie. It is pretty tough.
Well, the way we test this is we have something that's been commonly dubbed now the grilling.
The grilling. Oh, man.
Yeah, the grilling.
Very, very scary. They don't make it easy. They sit across from a table there with long, glum faces, making me feel really small, firing questions at me, and why?
Why?
But why? But why? And it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until they get to the point where you're almost going to break, and then you give the answer.
Which is where Johnny and myself will sit down with a person, a potential coach, and we'll absolutely nail them on how good their level of understanding really is. It's no good having a superficial understanding. For instance, give me a good reason for good throttle control, and they'll say, well, it makes the bike stable. That's not good enough. Why does it make the bike stable? How does it make the bike stable? What's actually going on to give you that result? Because if the coach that you've got doesn't have that depth of understanding, he won't be able to answer the question. And if you've got a student who cannot get a direct answer from a coach, you've lost credibility.
You have to work hard, and there's a lot of pressure. You have to really want it.
Every waking hour, every time I had a break in work, every time at home, I was just reading, studying. It's not handed to you on a plate, you have to work hard for it, so that's what I did.
The grilling's so strong and so good, but then if you pass the grilling, you've got a good understanding of the tech that they're going to pass on to all the students.
Now, back to Andy.
First 3 laps, there's going to be no overtaking, okay? And I'm going to want you to run at about 50%. So it gives you time to understand what you're looking at, looking for new RPs, understanding what the track actually does, okay? Like I said, no overtaking on the first 3 laps, so just be one bike behind the other. When you finish those 3 laps, okay, I want you to stay out on track, but I now want you to use that new knowledge that you had to start experimenting with line. Okay, see what you can discover more. See if you can find a better line through the turn, or an alternative line through the turn. As long as you have good throttle control, then the line's good. So as long as you can start the gas, roll it evenly, smoothly, continuously through the turn, then you found a line that works. If you find a line where you were able to crack the gas, but have to hesitate or roll out, the line's not good for you. Okay, so that's how you're going to define if you found a better line or not. Does that make sense? After those first 3 laps, overtaking is allowed again, but please take caution. Everybody's going to be out there experimenting, trying different things, so the person in front absolutely has the right of way on this drill. You're going to discover something very, very interesting about the track doing this drill. Extremely interesting. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's certainly going to help your visual skills today, tremendously. Drill's called change lines. Riding format, like I said, is going to be no brakes, 3rd, 4th gear. Hand signal from your coach is follow me. And your goal in this drill is to find different lines that you can still make work for you.
But what I'm doing is there's a cone, and I'm sticking to the sort of the right of that patch.
Okay, yeah. And what are you using that for?
Just as my sort of turning in point.
Good lad, yeah. And where are you going after that?
And then I just stay pretty much in the middle of the track, and I wait till I can see the actual what do they call it, the blue and white strip.
Okay,
and then I look towards that.
The curve on the inside.
The curve on the inside. That's what I use, and then sort of drift out. I haven't got a reference point for there for the outside.
Right. Okay. So we need to find something on the outside.
Yeah, to be honest with you, that's the biggest problem I've got is finding reference points on the outside.
After the break, Al goes through the knee-to-knee drill with Andy. Before a few heart-stopping moments on the brake rig. Don't go away. Welcome back to Superbike School UK. Coming up next, Al learns some stability before test riding the school's brake rig. And we all sit down with Andy to see if we've made the grade.
Most of the drills that we teach, riders tend to do already. Knee to knee, we've never done before. It was discovered by Keith Code as a method of keeping us more stable when we move from one side of the bike to the other. Most of us tend to lift out of the seat when we do this. Knee to knee allows the rider to move from one side of the bike to the other in a chicane or an S without actually destabilising the bike. I'll go through the mistakes. If you want to move around on the bike, if you're right up against a fuel tank, the moment you start to move, look what happens to my outside leg. Starts to come away from the fuel tank. So the first thing you need to do is give yourself some space. So you need to move back from the tank. Right? Ideally, you want about a fist distance between the back of the tank and your wedding tackle. Okay, I think that's the politest way I can put that. Right, now when you move, see when you move, your legs are locked here. Okay, and as you move on the bike, you've still got a lock there. So bearing in mind, this is the point where you're on the bike and you're trying to get it to go from here to here because you're in a chicane. Okay, so if you do this, you immediately steady yourself on the bars. So how effective is your steering input going to be? No, because you're going to steady yourself here. So one arm's going to act against the other arm. So what we need to do is, so we have no influence on the bars, slide. Slide across the seat. Happy with that? All right. This is still wrong. See if you can see why. Lose contact with the tank, then. Okay, I'm locked in here, but as I move across, big gap, locked in. So this point here, again, how am I going to steady myself? Use the handlebars.
So, knee to knee, how was that?
Really hard.
Awkward.
Really awkward.
Yeah.
I felt like I was being programmed to do it. It didn't feel natural at all.
Your style before with knees out,
Yeah.
you had a transition where you were stable to unstable. There was a gap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. It takes practice. It absolutely takes practice. But when it's right, the speed and the stability that you can move from side to side is what we're after. Okay, so you felt it a little bit?
Yeah, I felt it. It
Okay.
felt alien.
Well, it will do. You know, it's school. You know, it is something new. It's new experiences. We try them, adapt.
Yeah.
Okay.
that, yeah.
Right.
It's amazing what you do when you grip the tank and let everything flow rather than panic.
This is it.
Yeah.
So when you grip the tank with the knees, did you feel immediately the bars started to turn, you could feel
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And then you could get some brake off and get it to go straight, yeah? Good. That was really good. Well done.
Yeah, different. It's nice knowing you got riggers on the outside to catch you, but after that last one then, it didn't matter if they were on or off. You just, the control you get from grabbing the tank with your knees and actually listening to what Paul was saying, having a technique rather than jamming the brake on and hoping for it. Yeah, it works. Kind of weird, but yeah, it works. I wouldn't say track riding, but in terms of road, you know, and uneven surfaces, and it definitely it's definitely work in some format.
And now, back to the knee to knee.
Show us how you do that while you're on the bars as well.
Yeah, sure. When you're here. I've done it a few times. On you get then, let's have a go. Stop. How well locked in do you feel?
Not tremendously.
So what you did was you did that. How well are you locked in? Okay, take your hands off the bars. Yeah, okay, you're falling off, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, so don't put your arse as far off of the seat. All right, so put it. You want to be about there. Yeah. All right, now take your hands off the bars. Feel more stable? Yeah. Okay. Don't let the momentum swing you too far out the seat. Okay, try it again. That's better. Okay, don't lift, drag. Good. Good. You want to do it again?
It's difficult to get an ideal position on the seat, isn't it, when you're not going around? But
Yeah. But if you can't get an ideal position on the seat statically, then you find it harder out there because you've got so much going on.
Yeah.
When you move across the bike, make sure that outside leg is locked. And if it feels a little bit unstable, the outside leg, is because you move your bum too far out the seat. That is actually, your bum in the seat is another point of contact that you need to use to give you stability. That's why we slide across the seat rather than lifting out the seat. Okay? Now this is new to you. You've moved across the bike before, but you've never done it in this way with stability. So it is going to require quite a bit of concentration for you to get it right.
knee to knee, yeah. Well, because you do it anyway. You do it self-consciously. You hit a chicane, you change direction, and you do that. But the way Andy was showing me, it just felt like I was a robot, and I was programmed to do that rather than. I'm sure I did it naturally. I'd do that anyway, but thinking about doing that, it's just yeah, it's tricky. You don't think about, oh, I've got a chicane coming up. I'm going to put my knee here. I've got to get my bum across, and then I'll put my other knee across, and vice versa. I'll have it sorted by the end of the day. It's working out what bits I've learned over the past couple of days to take forward to 2 weeks' time, because obviously I can't put the whole level 2, level 3 into one weekend of racing. No. It's going to take a lot longer than that, but it's working out what bits to try it. And
when you go and do your next race, I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to forget everything. Right, it's all going to go out the window because you're in race mode. Switch off. You've got to go fast. Yeah. So that's probably going to happen to you for first practice, maybe even first qualifying. And then from that point there, you've got something to work with because you're going to have a lap time. And you're going to say, right, I'm doing 1:38 and I'm in 15th place. That's not good enough. I want to be in 12th place and I need to find 3/10. And then you've got to sit down and go, right, where am I going to find those 3/10? Which corners are holding those 3/10 for me? You then can go back and look at the drills that we've taught you and work out which one of those is going to help you find the 3/10. That's the discipline that you now need to be able to go faster and to take it into your racing. Does that make sense? Okay.
The first day, when you realise, well, you might be thinking you're going quick, but you're not actually going as quick as you can, and they pull your riding apart, or you pull our riding apart, and even some of the easiest things like throttle control, what I was doing was totally wrong. And generally, just, as you keep on saying, keep the bike stable, I'm a lot more stable on the bike. I feel a lot more comfortable, and I have the confidence now to try things that people are telling me, where before I'd say, yeah, all right, and not want to do it because I think, no way I'm going to try that. Yeah. And that's, overall, I reckon it's the biggest thing I've taken away on here, the fact that you've made me a lot more confident on the bike by making me a lot more stable on the bike. So it's almost like a chain reaction.
Yeah, absolutely is. I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on.
Yeah.
You just got to keep in that mindset of keep practicing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so little tumble yesterday. You know the reason why. How did that affect you mentally? I mean, because again, we're like with Al, we're here on a school, so you kind of don't really expect to fall off, and yet you still rode today. Was there any aftermath from that? Did you learn anything from it?
Well, I did make a conscious effort to look, turn, gas.
Okay, so instead of turning the bike and rolling the throttle on, we now got those two separated out.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did that make the bike feel today?
Steadier.
Steady, stable. Okay, good.
And also just facing into the corner as well. But I was very conscious that I was much slower into the corners than I was yesterday.
Now with the information you have, you can actually analyse what happened. I went in and I turned the gas at the same time, which increases the lean angle. You're asking too much of the tyre. You're still trying to lean it in because you're not where you want to go, and suddenly you're on your bum. But you now know why, and then we're here today, and you've immediately changed that. So sometimes having a fall is actually a positive thing.
Better here than...
It's better here than on the road, absolutely 100%, because we're here in a controlled environment.
Tune in next week when we move to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. We meet the infamous slide bike, and I get to work on my body position and get my bike set up just right.